Well, I know it sounds like a record skipping or on repeat because I say it every single week. We have some of the most relevant and interesting guests every single time here on the Fight Guys with Erik Apple. And we've come through once again. This is a guy who is one of the big dogs in the MMA clothing business. Welcome this week's guest, Luke Burrett. Luke, welcome to the show, brother.
Thanks for having me, Erik.
Now, a lot of people may or may not know who you are. People who've been involved in the combat sports business certainly do. But have a very similar background to myself. I just realized as I started thinking about it. Born in Laguna Beach, same with me. Raised in Dana Point, same with me. Grew up around the Dana Point Harbor quite a bit, same with myself. So we have a lot in common. Tell people, coming from an action sports background, how you came to become a fan and later on came into business with the sport of mixed martial arts.
Well, it was kind of funny. I mean, we started in '93 as a jewelry company, and I used to detail cars, and I would detail Jack Martinez's car from Black Flies, and I'd be over there just washing all his stuff when he was at his heyday. His Mercedes and Ferraris, and I'd be like, God, I got to do something different. And we were sitting there talking about what we should go do, and or what I should go do. And he was like, we came up with jewelry. So we started in the jewelry business. We started doing these big gaudy rings for, a lot of just, the action sports and tattoo world and and then we kind of went into celebrities, and then we started doing merch and doing handbags and purses and all kinds of stuff. And then, I met my wife 24 years ago, and we kind of decided to pivot. And, UFC, we've always been passionate about. I was involved in watching them, and, she did some stuff, in some of the very beginning UFCs with, when they were filming her for some of the stuff they were doing. And I was watching what Tapout was doing, and I said, this is a wide open business. And we kind of went after it. I kind of just put my passion with what we were already doing, and, we got involved.
So to take a step back, so just so people know that you started Silver Star casting company, and let me take a step back to that as well. Was your very first location in San Clemente, or was that the one on the peninsula in Newport, I remember?
My very first location was off 18th Street, and it was this little hole in the wall on 18th Street. And, I would literally be sitting on the ground with, containers with, an alien ring and all these weird little rings and doing my thing. So
talk about, we both come from South Orange County, massive action sports, skateboarding, snowboarding, surfing. I think, you and I were some of the first people to start to bridge that gap and bring those two communities, bring those two worlds together. And it was a pretty easy fit, don't you think?
It really was. It really was. I mean, there was a group of us. Yeah, you, me, and Lofty, and there's a whole crew of us that were kind of doing that. It was funny. I was, I'm partners with Ice-T on some projects, and we were just talking about it. He was telling me how Lofty kind of bridged action sports with hip hop. He would be up there in LA, and and that's how I met Ice. And the action sports kind of, we kind of started the whole vibe across the world. Really, if you think about like action sports and the whole look, it kind of originated in Orange County. And then, Travis 100%. Kind of commercialized it,
I remember you guys working on NDX with Ice-T, right? Near Death Experience.
Yeah, that was Lofty, but yeah, NDX, yeah.
That's funny. So, from there, I'm sure you looked at Tapout, and, this is not a knock on anybody, but Tapout's not really my style, never was. I'm sure it was never your style.
Mine either.
Yeah, no. Exactly. So I'm sure you saw a pretty big window right there. Like, hey, not every single dude training MMA wants to go out and dress like this or be down with these guys putting makeup on their face. Let me look at the other lane and see if I can get involved.
Absolutely. I mean, there was, and then there was also Affliction. We kind of slid right in between the both of them, and kind of took our share, and it was funny because we weren't on Tapout's. Tapout was kind of monopolizing there for a minute, and then we came into the equation, and Mark Reiner from Tapout, didn't even notice us, and then he started noticing us, and Affliction tried to buy us, and yeah, that didn't work out. And that's actually how, I ended up getting St-Pierre, because I had a deal. When Affliction came and took us over, I was actually working in their office for a good month. And then some stuff happened with Todd Beard and Dana and blah, blah, blah. And I got a call from pretty much the UFC, and they said, hey, you pick a side. And I decided to pick the UFC side. So Todd Beard wasn't too happy, and I'd already signed a contract with George St-Pierre. And Todd's like, no, give me that deal back. And I'm like, dude, I've already paid. And this deal, we've already got the shirt designed. And so we ran it. And he came out and did his thing with BJ Penn.
Yeah,
and
I remember.
Silver Star was born really that night in MMA.
Yeah, but the first fighter you sponsored, I believe, was Rashad Evans, correct? And how did that happen?
Oh, you're right. You're right. You're right. It was Rashad Evans, and he was fighting Forrest Griffin. You're right. And I never forget that night. I was in Florida on a boat, and it was our first. It was that money shirt, and we sent it out. And he ended up winning the title. And I remember it blew the server up. We had so many orders, we couldn't even keep up with them. And then I was like, holy shit. Yeah, you're right. That was the first shirt. That's good, Apple. That's good.
These days, the sponsorship game in combat sports, for the most part, is gone. Unless you're fighting like a giant Netflix card or something like that. In MMA, the sponsorship is basically non-existent. But can you remember what you paid Rashad Evans in your first fight ever?
I was giving him $50,000 to walk out.
Just for the shirt, right?
Just for the shirt, and then they got a royalty on top of that.
And how many shirts, or how much? What number of shirts, or how much do you think you made off?
We sold probably close to 1 million St-Pierre tees.
No, I'm talking about Rashad Evans.
On top of Rashad, we sold a lot of St-Pierre tees, and what we didn't sell, they were getting pirated. I mean, we were catching containers and containers of that shirt, coming in illegally and trying to stop it. But that's another story.
But did you know right off the bat, as soon as you sponsored Rashad and he won, blew up your server, and you got a bunch of orders, did you know, like, we made it, we're here?
Yeah, after Rashad, I'm like, holy shit, like, we're on to this. And then I had St-Pierre, I think it was St-Pierre next, lined up. And then I was like, let's go get every champion. Then I got, I was the first guy to sponsor Jon Jones. I found Jon Jones when he was nobody, and we had him for a while, and we had a whole stable of heavy hitters. At one time, I think we had 4 world champions, 4 or 5. Wow.
So I imagine that you said you paid Rashad $50K. I'm guessing that you had to pay George close to 7 figures, correct?
George was 50. I think Rashad is maybe 30, if I recall. It's been a while, but
that's it.
George was 50K. I know that, and I sponsored George multiple times.
Yeah, I remember, and I'm sure looking back on it, that was a great investment on your part. You feel, right?
It built us. I mean, I look back at it now, I'm like, holy shit, $50K to walk out. That's crazy. But it really built us. It built our brand, And it's funny because I'm seeing it today. I mean, I turn the TV on and I see it every other week on replays or. It's actually funny. There's a viral video going around with some dude holding a vase. You might have seen it, a vase or something, and he's got a Rashad Evans money shirt, and it's going around right now.
That's so funny. Yeah, it's funny because, from my days of running Metal Militia, and we were spending millions of dollars on freestyle motocross and all those guys, but I don't see those clips much anymore. I see old clips of Nick and Nate Diaz wearing my stuff from them. So you're right. That kind of stuff does seem to survive.
Yeah. It really does, and you know what? It's kind of we'll get into it, but we're relaunching Silver Star, which I'm sure you've got some questions on, and it's going to play a role in what we're doing, because that whole look right now is completely the 2000s is here,
Yeah.
Affliction's the #1 shirt right now in a lot of the retailers, believe it or not.
Yeah. We'll get to that in a second. It is definitely all cyclical, but I want to ask you about. Can you give us any details on your deal blowing up with Todd and Affliction? I don't know if Courtney was involved in that with that problem at all, but can you give any details?
Yeah, actually I can. Todd was intense, as you well know, and we were in New York together, and he was yelling at Lorenzo on some call. I was sitting right there talking a bunch of shit, and we got home, and all hell broke loose. And, there was this decision for me to make whether I basically, kind of stay in that stable or don't. And, Courtney was like, this isn't the right fit right now with everything going on. And it kind of made sense for us to go our own way. But when we went our own way, I didn't get, I got George from Todd, that was Affliction's guy, and they're the ones that said, hey, we'll put you out with George. But the problem is we already had everything set up and paid and all that crap. And then he expected me to say, I'm not going to take George. And, that caused a lot of shit between, Todd wasn't too happy with me for.
And Todd wasn't a guy to give up a grudge very well, was he?
No.
Now, I imagine looking back, that was sort of a blessing in disguise. It really helped launch you.
It was a huge blessing in disguise. Huge. Yeah. I mean, it was the thing that launched us, really. I mean, we were already on we'd been around for a while. People knew who we were. We were doing a bunch of stuff, but in the MMA space, it was the dagger.
Yeah, that was the big one for sure. I want to ask you, before we move on to future stuff and the relaunch, looking back at it now, is it kind of mind-blowing to think of the absolute collapse of the MMA clothing brands and how it just went from all these brands were crushing it, Silver Star, Sinister, Metal Militia, Tapout, Hitman, all these people were making all this money in all these big retail giants, to overnight they were just gone.
I hate to say that we helped build MMA because Dana already had it going, you know what I mean? But we played a big role, all of us, including you, in really the whole vibe of the UFC, I mean, it really, I think about the best times of the UFC. Those were the best times of the UFC. Oh, yeah. I mean,
for sure.
We all had, we were all doing parties and this and that. And then you had Reebok and all these brands come in and just kill the whole vibe, and it took a lot of, I feel, took a lot out of the UFC, and I still look at their outfits and I'm like, it's just so corporate and boring. It'd be nice to see them go back where fighters can make more money, and that's another thing too, is all the fighters it hurt all the fighters. I remember it was a big deal with all the fighters, and it probably still is.
Oh, yeah.
It would be nice to see Dana reverse course.
Because back then, 15 years ago, 10 years ago, there's a lot of fighters making way more money on sponsorship than they were for their fight salary, right?
Oh, yeah. And I mean, some of the smaller fighters, they're not making the money that, some of the bigger fighters are making, and it really helps supplement, and they get 4 or 5 sponsors. So it's worth for them to go out and fight,
Yeah, I remember fighting on Showtime and making like 12 grand from Elite XC, but I made like 25, 30 grand in sponsors. Made 3 times that.
I bet. I always forget that you were doing it too.
I mean, and from my understanding, with ABG and Kreiner and all those guys, from my understanding, the entire collapse of that, piece of the industry was from Tapout and ABG just flooding JCPenney and the discount stores with product, while the other retailers were already holding some of the same product for normal price. Is that your understanding as well?
Yeah, I mean, so I was ABG's very first purchase ever, out of all their brands. And you see how big they're a multi-billion-dollar business. They own everybody. I was their very first. When Jamie came to me, I'm the one that facilitated Tapout with Dan and facilitated Sinister. So we rolled up 3 brands at one time. And, we were working out of New York, and, we had a non-compete, obviously. And so Cheris and I basically, me and my wife, we just got bored, and we ended up striking a deal with Jamie to get out of our non-compete. And, they kind of, I feel they bought Silver Star to shelf us. They did nothing with it. Tapout, it was bigger. So they kind of did, a few things with Tapout, but really didn't care, And Sinister just went, same thing with Silver Star. And so it all just kind of sat. I mean, Tapout, they did kind of pump a little life into it, and they did a few things with it. But Silver Star's been on the shelf for the last, I don't even know, since they bought us.
Yeah, I feel like the same thing with you, Silver Star, Sinister, Hitman. They all pretty much sat once ABG acquired them, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, so basically just buying your competition to make them go away, which I'm sure nobody was happy with. Especially,
I kind of thought that's what they were doing with Tapout. Put us put us on the shelf, which makes sense kind of if you're going to go hype up another brand, but they didn't really hype up Tapout too much neither. You know what the problem is if when you take the soul out of a brand and you take the people that started the brand and you don't keep them actively involved and happy, then everything goes to shit. You know what I mean? And that's kind of what happened, I feel, you know?
It's the people who started or the people who run it that make the brand what it is. You can't just give a name to any jerk off and think it's going to work, right?
No. And I mean, I yet to see somebody purchase a brand and go, you know what? I need this guy. I need to make this guy happy for as long as I have this brand, you know? And, you know, normally they just they come in and they start telling you what to, I mean, look at Ruka, look at Pat, you know?
Yeah, for sure. So you guys have now, you and your wife have reacquired the license for Silver Star. Is that accurate to say?
We did. We actually just acquired it. I mean, it's been a long process, but to be honest with you, we just signed like 2 days ago.
That's awesome. So what is the plan moving forward, and will it involve combat sports or MMA at all?
Yeah, it's going to definitely involve MMA, 100%. And, you know, I'm meeting with my business partners that we're bringing in, and we're going to plan our path. And, but yes, I mean, I'm super focused on the jewelry because it's honestly where my passion is, and it's always been the jewelry. Yeah. And to me, it's low-hanging fruit, and I think it's a huge market for it right now. But with that said, you know, we're going to be doing some high-end products, kind of, you know, like Chrome Hearts does, but, you know, maybe half the price with Silver Star, with embellishments and, you know, nice stuff. But we're also, you know, I'm teaming up with some heavy hitters in the space like Josh Merrill and some other guys, and we're launching the apparel, you know, in a lot of the retail stores. And so I've been sitting down and we've been going over designs, and we're actually just taking a lot of our old designs right now and bringing them back. That's
what people want.
Yep.
Isn't it amazing how fashion is cyclical? It all kind of comes back.
Dude, it's crazy because I had pallets and pallets of we made thousands of different styles, and I ended up like 5 years just dumping it all. And I look back, I'm like, that was the worst mistake I've ever made. You know,
if you had it now, you could sell it for a good amount.
Oh, dude, like everybody asked me. I mean, if you go online right now for Silver Star, it's like being sold. There's shirts for $200 in some places. You know, like I'm going fuck. But you know, it's a good lesson. You know, you hold on to shit for 20 years and it'll be back.
Yeah, the only thing I wish that would go away permanently are the giant baggy pants.
Dude, I'm the same way. I don't ever see that, you know. Yeah, me too.
I tell all the girls that I see that wear them, I said, you know, you're wearing those for the other girls because none of the dudes like those. We do not like that stuff.
I can't stand them. I can't stand them. You know, but that's the fashion right now. I mean, even my wife's wearing some big baggy pants now. And I'm like, you know.
It's insane. It's insane.
Give me the jeans. Give me the tight jeans.
Yeah, for sure. So you have a grand plan to get back involved with combat sports and MMA moving forward. That's awesome.
Absolutely. I mean, I think honestly, I think that's, you know, but you know, Erik, we're gonna have to hit some other areas. You know, like a lot of these boxing matches. And you know, I'm watching the landscape right now, and bare knuckle. You know, we just did a bare knuckle fight with Dan. And actually, Dan took us recently, and Tapout Dan, and yeah, I'm going to have to, you know, I mean, obviously UFC's got it so fucking locked up that, you know, unless you got some deep pockets, you're not going to play in that arena. But what I could do is, you know, sponsor some guys outside the ring, some of those guys, and do some parties during those events. But if you're gonna see us in the ring at bare knuckle and some of those, you know, Jake Paul fights and shit like that.
That's great news. That's really good to hear. And I'm glad that our sport is regaining someone like yourself who can inject some life and some creativity and just some guerrilla marketing like you and I have always done.
Thank you. Thank you. Do you miss it? You feel like ever getting back into it?
You know, I 1000% look back at the late 2000 or early 2000 teens. I think that was the golden age of MMA. I mean, when we were running Strike Force and I was controlling both Rockstar and Metal Militia, as far as I was concerned, we had the best and baddest guys on those two teams. Yep. We had so much fun, and those were the glory days as far as I'm concerned. Not that the sport is in a bigger, better place now, but as far as just being cool and fun, that was the time. So I don't know if we're ever going to bring that back exactly, but we can bring it back to a point where we have a little bit of fun and we make some money.
100%. 100%. It's just, there's different arenas to play in now. I mean, combat sports has expanded, I mean, honestly, there's all these boxing matches, and, Ronda Rousey's fighting freaking Gina Carano, and there's all kinds of interesting stuff going on,
Yeah, that's a great one. That one to me is interesting because as far as I know, neither one of those people need the money. I mean, a lot of people don't know. Gina Carano's family are billionaires. They own Caesar's Palace. It's not like she needs to fight.
Oh, I never knew that.
Yeah, they own Caesar's.
And Ronda doesn't need the money.
Yeah, she's made millions and millions and millions of dollars in the UFC as well as the WWE for 9 years now. So she must have been itching to fight. Gina, I'm not sure. I mean, she hasn't had a combat sports match in 17 years. She's lost a ton of weight because we know she was absolutely massive there for a while. So I'm sure she found the GLP-1s or some semi-glutide and has got the weight down. So she feels like she should make some money as well. And to be honest, everyone's going to watch it. I think it's a great matchup. The fans are going to dig it. So who cares if anyone talks shit? They're going to fight. People are going to watch it, and they're going to make some money. So good for them. This is America.
I'm surprised Dana didn't take that.
So he originally was going to, but the fight didn't materialize quick enough for them to put it on pay-per-view. Because if they would have put it on pay-per-view, they could have given the girls a percentage of the pay-per-view. But because now they're on Paramount, there is no such thing as pay-per-view anymore. They can't pay those girls what Netflix can pay. Because I'm guarantee you Netflix is paying those girls. I mean, I'm guessing Ronda's making 8 figures, and I'm guaranteed Gina's making between 5 and 10.
Wow.
Guaranteed.
Wow. Sign me up. Sign me up.
I'll put a wig on and fight either of those chicks right now. Well, Luke, I appreciate you coming on so much. I know we tried this for several weeks and it was hard to get it working, but thanks for coming on. Thanks for making the announcement with us. We'll get this out on all your channels. We'll definitely collaborate with you on social. And is there a website or a social media someone could go to already?
You can follow us on Instagram at Silver Star Casting Co.
Well, we will definitely collaborate with you and with that page as well. And hey, once again, here on The Fight Guys, we have interesting information. We got some background, stuff you're not going to learn anywhere else. So for Luke, I'm Erik Apple on The Fight Guys. We'll see you next week.